What is up, everybody? Jester here, and today I am back in Dune Awakening. And no, I'm not going to be making the state of the game video that I mentioned in the last one, because I'm doing something I don't usually do. I'm actually writing a script for the next one. I just want to make sure all my P's and Q's are lined up and all the ducks are in a row, because we're going to be fair, but we're going to be critical, but that's for another day. Today I want to talk about my top 5 tips for playing Dune Awakening. This isn't clickbait. These are things that I think you can look towards and actually do and get some better enjoyment out of the game and even save some time with some of these. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Getting started today at number 5 is going to be making a plan / infrastructure. Now, I'm going to use the Rat Race Salvage Yard Guild Hall here because we have all of the benches now, but these aren't by accident and they didn't happen overnight. It happened because we made a plan. We did things in a certain order to get one thing, to get the next, to be able to do the next thing, so we could craft this item, so we could go get the next item. It's all a progression. And yeah, we had 12 people that were kind of working on this. If you're a solo player, this is going to be a lot more difficult to get these big benches. But the easy way to go about doing it is just plan ahead and give yourself the building size you're going to need in order to house them. And not only that, make sure that you're keeping an eye on power and water. Don't go putting in benches and then worry about power later. Set up your power system to get started with immediately. Do the same with your water. We've got like 2.5 million storage here at the guild hall, and it's pretty much been difficult to keep it full because we do use it quite a bit. And, you know, we got to run out and grab, say, a buggy full of bodies or something almost every day when we're in full production mode. But we know that, and that's kind of all part of the infrastructure. So just take the time, write it down, and it's going to save you so much time down the road of having to backtrack and do things in not necessarily the wrong order, but just an order that isn't going to advance you as quickly as you'd like to. Number 4 might seem counterintuitive to some, but believe me when I tell you, it's actually a very smart play, and that's stay in Mark 5 tools. The benefit you get from the Mark 6s doesn't really outweigh the cost, and let me tell you why. When you've got a Mark 5 cut array, you make it on the duraluminum level, which is easy to gather in the Haga Basin. And yes, when you go up to a Mark 6, you get better yields. But now you're talking plastanium and spice that you have to craft it. And what do you think it takes to repair it when it gets damaged? That's right, plastanium and spice. So I guess in a particular use case for the Mark 6 cut array, for titanium and stravidium, sure, but is the benefit of going around and damaging this thing with iron all that beneficial when you can get plenty of iron out of a Mark 5? Not in my opinion. I think this is just a really good way to save mats. But again, if you're in the deep desert on foot, probably a good idea to go ahead and get the Mark 6 and deal with the titanium and the stravidium that way. Now, there are some exceptions to these rules, mostly with my weapons. I mean, I'm wearing the Saturine still suit, which is duraluminum level, but right now I'm not willing to compromise on my weapons. I am carrying a Regis sword that takes plastanium and spice to both craft and repair, and I've also got an Ancient Way, because we got the weapons vendor in our server a couple of weeks ago. I picked one up. I wanted to power up my weapons game, but I'm willing to pay the price when it comes to plastanium and it comes to spice to maintain these 2 items. Now, something that I'm not really willing to maintain is going to be my compactor. The Mark V compact compactor is excellent. It does really high gather rate. It's a medium intensity type of thing. And the compactor here is very high when it comes to intensity of worm attraction. Now, the thing about these is you gather more in a pile. You don't get any more out of the spice field, but you get more in a pile, so you can clear a spice field a little faster with this Omni-Static than you can with the Mark V. But that's not always a good thing either. You could run into a guy like this where I'm just minding my own business and I'm farming this spice. This guy decides to land, he starts shooting, and then he starts picking up my stuff. Well, then I started picking up his stuff, and then neither one of us was shooting, and he turned on his shield. So I turned mine on. He's not going to out-chicken me. And then on the way out, I let him know, hey, I will drag you into the worm, and he flew off like the good little Atreides boy that he is. The point I'm making is that 10 extra that I'm going to get in a pile worth it to have to use plastanium and have to use spice in order to keep this thing? Probably not, in my opinion. Most servers are low pop. If you go in at kind of off hours, you can farm spice pretty much all day long. So it's up to you guys what you want to do with it, but I'm telling you, just save the resources. It's so much easier to maintain these Mark Vs. My third tip today might low-key be the best tip in the entire freaking video, and that's all to do with your buggy, and more specifically the cut array. You guys should be building and upgrading these cut arrays and farming with your buggies, because if you're not, you're pretty much doing it wrong. I thought for weeks that my ornithopter was better going back and forth to the mesas for aluminum, and I was, in and out in 7 minutes, full load, 150 or so aluminum. The buggy cut array destroys what you're doing by hand. Look at aluminum, 135 on a Mark V cut array. You're only getting 72 with a Mark V handheld. Like, it's not even close. And then they've got variants for this thing for a Mark V. And I use this on my jasmium base. I end up getting 253 jasmium per. And, like, the gate for jasmium isn't the nodes, it's more the radiation, so I don't really need a Mark VI over here, but my God, it goes up to 280 jasmium if I did, and 195 aluminum, which is why we've got one on the aluminum base. And that's when I realized that ornithopter thing, that doesn't really fly anymore. This is way better, and yeah, there's travel time getting it back and forth to Guildhall, but man, you can get so much so quickly, and it's a really good way to gather. And that's not even to mention that when these things need repairing, it just takes a little welding wire. That's it. It doesn't take plastanium. It doesn't take duraluminum. It just takes some scrap metal. Buggy cut arrays are awesome, and if you're not using them, you're really missing out on some opportunity. Number 2 on my list today is going to be that not all benches are created equal, especially at the advanced levels, and I'm going to show you why on that in a minute. Now, the first one you should probably be thinking about is the medium chemical refinery, because it gatekeeps so much other stuff, including plastanium, which is what you're going to need to put into these advanced benches anyway, and you can't make it until you got one of these. So this should be the first bench that you put down. This one is an absolute non-negotiable. A couple of no-brainers that I think you should really be working on is 1, your ore refinery, and 2, your spice refinery. Now, the benefit of having the large ore refinery is you get a 50 spice sand to 1 spice melange mix. Now, there are downfalls to this because, well, it takes 10,000 spice sand to start the machine. But hey, if you just save it up, you'll be fine. In the small refinery, you get a 100 to 1, and in the medium, you get a 75 to 1. So just keep upgrading that as you go. Like, this guy is going to make our life so much easier. Even though we got to put more in it, we get more out of it. It's just a wonderful thing. Same kind of goes with the large ore refinery, where the medium refinery for, say, aluminum is a 7 to 1 recipe. This one is a 4 to 1 recipe. It's almost 50% savings. Like, it's just a no-brainer to be working on this specifically as a solo. I mean, in a guild, obviously, but as a solo, you should really be doing this. It's going to be a massive time saver and make it so much easier to stack the ores and the ingots and stuff that you're going to need going forward. Now, I do have a bit of a problem with the advanced benches, and this is just a Funcom issue because they do this all the time. Let's just look at the advanced weapons fabricator. Now, the problem here is I can't craft anything but the plastanium level. It's just the tier 6 stuff. So in order for me to use this, I have to be in production on the other stuff. And if I don't have the large ore refinery, I'm not getting a great return for plastanium on the medium. So, like, do these things in the right order, I think is kind of what I'm saying here. The one exception that I made very early, though, was the survival fabricator. And the reason I did that is mostly this section here, to where you can take certain things and then mix them with things that you find in the deep desert. Say here, like plasteel plating. And you can make stuff that's going to go into your tier 6, say, garment bench or your tier 6 weapons bench. And I kind of figured out, well, we want to have that ability. Like, what good is to have those benches and then not be able to either make these parts, or we'd have to go farm them, which was a tougher process in DD at the time. So it just made sense for us to have this. So just know this was the one exception I made. But when it comes down to it, this is a lot like number 5. Just make sure you're kind of planning and you've got the infrastructure set up, and just, for God's sake, make sure your power's good. Doesn't it feel like number 1 on these kind of lists is always a bit of a letdown? And I suppose for some people this one might be, but my number 1 tip for playing Dune Awakening right now is to future-proof everything. Like, it can take on all kinds of different forms. It could be setting up a box of welding wire or fuel cells, or it could be something as simple as, in your build, incorporate a big empty space like this, because there's certainly going to be more content when it comes down to it. It could be, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm good for a while. I'm going to craft a whole bunch of lubricant for my omnidirectionals, which is what I use here at the rad pad. Like, it doesn't have to be one specific thing that you're future proofing. It's just getting yourself ready for the game. Hey, you want to stack duraluminum? Just go ahead and get you a whole box of it. Do I need components for something I'm going to craft? Well, I'm just going to make sure I'm stacked on those. I'll go farm what I need, and then maybe I'll farm some extra and just kind of store it away for a rainy day. You know, like I mentioned, it could be very, very simple stuff like cobalt paste. This one's big handy, trust me. Again, it could be the ores. Like, you just want to start stockpiling stuff like that. If you just future-proof, you should be in pretty good shape. And that's kind of the best advice I can give you, is just have a good time playing the game. And when things get kind of slow like they are for me now, I'm finding ways that make me want to log in. Hey, I want to make sure that this place, separate from Guildhall, can produce my own ornithopter. So I want to make sure I got duraluminum, all the parts I'm going to need. There are things you can do, even though a lot of us have kind of hit a bit of a drought when it comes to stuff to do other than in the deep desert. So just know that this list is not an absolute. It's just intended to kind of help you and give you some direction when it comes down to it. And hopefully it did. And if it did, please like the video and think about subscribing, because I've got many other videos that are popping in my head on a daily basis. I think the content brain is starting to churn when it comes to this game. And again, I am working on that state of the game video. I just want to be very clear about everything, so I'm taking my time with it. Hope you guys understand. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.